It seems like almost every time I tune into Bassmaster nowadays, I'm seeing a young pro throwing a big glide bait in tournaments. This is one of the most popular ones. It's the Clutch Boss. It's a really big bait, and about 10 years ago, I didn't think that a glide bait was a tournament bait. But in the past couple of years, you're seeing a lot of pros catching not one, but maybe 2 or 3 of their fish in their limit on these big glide baits. And it got me thinking, could I actually turn a glide bait into a consistent fish catching bait? I don't think that this really big Clutch Boss is going to be the bait for me just because it has such a huge profile. It's great on gizzard shad lakes or lakes with big bass, but on a normal lake, a lake with maybe 3 to 4 pounders in it, I just don't feel like it's going to be the right bait for that situation. But there are a few other smaller glide baits on the market. One that I've actually experimented with a lot this year is this Clutch Eco. It's a $90 glide bait. It's really durable, and it's not that much bigger than your standard crankbait, to be honest. It's perfect for imitating a larger threadfin shad as well as a brim, bluegill, crappie, things like that. And I have basically been working this bait almost like you would a jerk bait. But the thing about these glide baits that's awesome is they have a lot more drawing power than a standard jerk bait. When you're in dirtier water or when you're fishing for very finicky fish, you can keep this bait either a little bit further away from them because it has more presence in that cleaner water situation so that they don't get as good of a look at it. Or when you're fishing in dirty water, you can use the thicker profile and that wider action to draw those fish out of cover in that really dirty water. Now I wanted to put this to the test because I recently caught a fish on a quote-unquote normal lake just throwing this glide bait over a brush pile, and it wasn't on a lake that had big gizzard shad or really big fish at all, and I still got one to bite. I didn't land it, but it gave me enough confidence to try to take it out to another quote-unquote normal lake. The lake I'm going out to today is not a great fishery by any means. It wouldn't be in the top 50 of any Arkansas best lake lists. There's probably not that many even 5-pounders in the lake. And it's a very dirty lake with standing timber. So if I can get the glide bait to work on this lake, it's definitely going to work on pretty much any fishery around the country that has forage about this size. Again, bluegill, crappie, pretty much in every lake has that. So let's see if I can get it done on this glide bait today on a normal lake in Arkansas. Okay, there we go. That looks kind of interesting right there. Got a little brush pile with some bait around it on the side scan view, right in the depth zone we're looking for. I'm just gonna mark this with brush. That looked pretty good right there. Looks like there may even be some fish just kind of scattered up on top of this little point here. Don't know what those all are. A couple of fish just kind of chilling up here. We can see them a little bit better on the side scan view. You can see them right in here. There's a handful of fish. We're just gonna mark these with the fish icon. Again, don't know exactly what we're getting into today, so we're just gonna mark a little bit of everything and just see. I like the fact that you have a brush pile right there with some shad, and there's a nice drop off. Obviously, we just dumped right in the channel. The mapping on this lake is basically non-existent because it's such a small lake, but I like the look of this little deal right here. I want to graph around just to get a sense of if there's anything else that might be setting up. Maybe just they're using this point because it's one of the few kind of ledge-ish type areas. There's more bait right there. That looks really good. I love how much bait is setting up here. You can see it on the 2D right there. Bunch of bait. I think there might just be some fish kind of scattered out around here. And we can see a few. I'm not seeing like any really big quality fish or anything like that. There's just kind of a few random fish spread out. You can see a couple more even pushing up right in here on the right side, right in there. There's actually a few. The one just popped on our 2D too. Huh. Right in here you can see one fish right there. Interesting. I feel like there's enough activity going on here to maybe stop here for a second. Let's graph around. I just want to see if there's anything else kind of down this corner. We're kind of getting to the corner of the lake here, and most of this lake is really flat. There's one kind of channel that runs through on this side of the lake, and it gets into a bunch of timber and stuff. But this is one of the few kind of clean spots on this part of the lake, which is interesting. I like to fish these clean spots where there's less cover going on to get the day started, because obviously it's a lot less daunting and intimidating than getting into a bunch of standing timber. We're probably gonna end up getting into that timber later today, but it would be good if we could start our day off with something easy, just maybe cranking one up or something. But let's kind of graph through here again. There's a nice flat zone. I don't want to get too shallow up here in that like maybe 6 to 8 foot zone, but I don't mind fishing a few pieces of brush up here, maybe even in like 10 foot of water. There's a brush pile that just popped right here on side scan. We'll mark that. We might just kind of hit a couple different pieces of cover through this area in the right depth. There's another nice little brush pile. A lot of these are probably man-made crappie tops and stuff like that right here. Those are always potentially holding fish. Looks like some gar popping on the screen on 2D sonar now. Some bigger arches that look like they could be gar. I'm not seeing a ton of brush, to be honest, out here. I was expecting there to be more man-made brush. There's a lot of crappie markers on this timber, so there's probably going to be some crappie sitting around somewhere. There's some really nice brush pile right here. That looks pretty good, to be honest. Look at that. There's a little bit of rock even around that. Bunch of brush. Holy cow, there's some crappie stacked up on one of those piles too. That's interesting. It looks like it might even be just like an actual tree. There's some bait sitting right here. Uh-oh, okay. That looked pretty good. So we might be onto something right there. You can see a bunch of stuff happening. Some bigger shad, actually, even, it looks like. Maybe some bigger crappie, or small crappie, I'm not really sure. If we pull up that side scan view though, we're definitely gonna mark this brush for sure. There's some brush over here, some brush back over here. We're gonna mark all this stuff. I think we found ourselves a really good starting spot. There's a little more brush over here right on that drop. There's a nice drop from shallower to deeper water right in that channel. We have some bait in the area. Looks pretty good. Let's get over here. I'm basically gonna start over here on these first little fish we found, and we'll just work our way through, fishing down through this zone. And it'll give us a good idea if we need to be maybe more towards that timber stuff, more towards the kind of flatter open water. Maybe there's some fish even just suspended out here in the open. So let's see what we can find. But I think we're gonna get something here in this first spot. Come on, fish, get it. Oh, there he is, a good one on the glide right here, guys. Oh my gosh. Right around this brush pile that we marked. Good fish too. I can't believe he got the glide. That's crazy. It's a pretty dirty lake. Apparently there's bigs in this lake though. Oh my gosh. On that clutch eco, he came up and cracked that thing. Oh, there we go, guys. What a beast on that clutch eco 6-inch glide bait out here. August bass fishing at its best right there. That is a good one. There we go, 3 pounds, 12 ounces. What a good fish right there. Solid one to start the day. Let's get this guy back down the lake. There we go. Oh man, I'm shaking, guys. That glide bait bite is so fun. That clutch eco has caught him 2 trips in a row for me now. And we're just on a brush pile that we marked. It's literally right in front of the boat here on our waypoint. And there's some shad around this area, and I'm actually using a brand new update from Lowrance. That's the reason I came out here today, to be honest, because I wanted to go to a shallower, dirtier lake with a lot of cover in it. And this 25.2 update, what it's doing is releasing a few improvements to the Active Target 2 to make the picture better, but it also introduced 3 new color palettes. And these color palettes were designed on lakes in Oklahoma where there's a lot of cover and you want to have to basically differentiate fish from brush. And right now we can see there's a really nice fish in a brush pile about 50 feet away from the boat here. And you can see that fish. Oh, he's following my bait out there, 40 feet. And this color palette right now, color palette 9, what it does is it makes the brush get a little bit faded. And apologies on the colors, I'm colorblind, so I don't know what colors are showing up on the screen here, but to me, it looks like it's kind of like a blue and yellow. And so the brush is more of a blue color. And then the bass are gonna pop as this yellow color. And it's gonna allow you to really see these fish in and around the brush. And I have to get these settings dialed in. I know that there's some really cool things you can do with this. I've been talking with the Lowrance team and they have shown me some really cool screenshots where you can basically filter out a lot of the brush and just show these better quality bass in and around the brush. You can see one swimming right there. There's some good ones out of the same brush pile where I just caught that last fish. And we're gonna mess around with this color palette. The settings are something I'm gonna have to play around with. I don't know the exact color, contrast, and all this different stuff to get the perfect image, but we're gonna experiment today, hopefully figure that out a little bit more. and maybe catch a few more fish on this glide, because that was so fun. Oh, one's behind it right now. Come on, come on, fish, get it. There's a fish on my bait right now, another good one. Come on. Oh, maybe he was just falling. I don't know what was going on there. Looked like a good one though. So we're coming up on a few pieces of brush that we marked on the edge of the standing timber here, and I want to see if we can pull a couple of fish out of this timber on the edge. Looks like there's a good one already following my bait. Oh my gosh, come on, eat it, fish. It's right there at 50 foot. Come on, get it, fish. He's all over it. Get it. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, get it. Just get it. Oh my goodness. There's some good ones in this brush right here. So we're starting to get into some of the standing timber here, and I think there's going to be some bass setting up in this stuff. It's just going to be tricky because there's going to be a lot of trees to look through and probably a lot of non-bass species mixed in. You're going to get crappie and catfish and drum and all kinds of stuff. And I'm hoping this glide bait will kind of get the bass interested, and if a fish tries to come eat this thing, we'll know it's a bass, then maybe we can throw a worm or something to kind of fish a little bit more thoroughly. Not 100% sure yet. I don't like the angle I'm going right now because I'm actually going with the wind. I probably am going to actually make just a couple casts right here and then graph down and kind of see where all this timber is, because now we know what we're looking for, and try to fish into the wind. It'll make it easier when I'm trying to keep my trolling motor pointed at my bait and work these fish. And you can see there's so much happening in this timber. This is why I don't like the timber as much, because it can get pretty overwhelming. There's so many trees through here, but at the same time, if I can figure it out, I can probably smash them through these trees. I just have to figure out what is what, and that's going to be my challenge today. And maybe, you know, we have to go find more of those isolated brush piles. That might be the better strategy. I'm not sure, but I really want to try to figure out this timber, because if we do, it could be game over. So I'm gonna fish a couple little stobs here just to see if anyone is interested. And then if not, we're gonna get on that trolling mode. So I got back on the big engine here really quick because I wanted to make my way down this stretch so I could turn around and fish into the wind. And I realized I basically ran out of trees immediately as I got in the big engine. So we're gonna graph another area to try to find a spot that looks similar. Then we can always come back and refish that spot. There's definitely some fish around there. I don't know if they're all gonna eat that glide bait. There may be another bait that I need to use to get those fish to actually bite. It's funny, we actually have a sunken boat here on the side scan. That's kind of interesting right there. But what I'm hoping to find is another spot that sets up similar in the sense that there's some timber right on the edge of this 15 foot of water dropping in the channel. It looks like we got a spot coming up right here. I can see some trees visibly in front of me, and we're up in this kind of 15-ish foot of water zone. I kind of want to mark a few of these stretches, and then we're going to fish again into the wind rather than fishing with it. And right in here looks about right. We have some trees on the left side of the side scan. They're above the level of the thermocline, which is exactly what we're looking for. They're, I mean, right in the right zone. All this right here, I'm just going to mark these with a tree icon so I can have these all marked. And we want to stay right above that 15-foot zone. We probably can dip into the 20-foot zone if those trees are sitting high enough and they're kind of topping out above the thermocline, so we don't need to necessarily graph just in 15 foot of water. But there's so much shad around this area as well. I think that this creek channel kind of peters out right in here, and we can kind of see that on the mapping. The mapping I don't really trust all that much. And we're getting in, there's a bunch of trees that are sticking out of the water over here. Pretty obvious to the naked eye, but I also see there's kind of almost like a hard edge over here to the right. I don't know what that's all about. We're gonna just keep graphing. I love graphing these areas first before I go and actually fish them, because it gives me a better sense of where the creek channels are, especially on a lake without mapping. We can see a creek channel actually runs right up against this deal now on the right side of the screen, and there's some timber that's in the middle of that creek channel. That actually looks really, really good right there, those three trees. And you can kind of find some of these more isolated pieces of timber when you do this. We kind of find that there's a timber line right here. This might even be like an old road bed if it's not a creek channel bed, but there's a bunch of stuff in through here. So much stuff to check out. Actually, that looks like an old road bed. I thought that was a creek channel. This is definitely a road, and there's timber right on top of that road. This could be juice right there. I'm gonna actually mark this with a little road icon or a rock icon and see if we can see anything. There's a lot of timber underneath the boat right now. It's kind of all over the place, so maybe almost even a little bit too much timber right through there, but I don't think that that's a problem. We also see that there's a lot of birds. I can just see a bunch of birds moving around through here. We're kind of in a good stretch, it looks like. I want to see if there's anything else we can see. Looks like there might be some fish kind of setting up on the left side of that side scan even, kind of right in here. I like this tree right here. There's some bait in it. There was definitely a really thick stretch of trees right there, and then now it's kind of cleared out and there's a lot less. You can see that hard break in the tree right there. I'm going to mark this with a kind of X marks the spot icon, because that lets me know that that's where the edge of those trees are, and a lot of times the edge of those trees can be where a lot of those fish will set up as well. So on these deals, you kind of have to figure out where the best looking spots are, and there's so much happening, so much timber, so much cover, that if you can find anything like that little old road bed right there, an edge to the trees, all those things can help to kind of get you situated in the right spot. And I'm gonna kind of just keep working around. There's a bunch of trees. I mean, I probably could just get into all these trees, to be honest. It's kind of hard to choose, but I want to mark a few key stretches just as we get started here, because I haven't really dialed in anything in particular yet. And then that way we can start to develop a pattern, hopefully. It looks like there's a little bit of a channel on this side. Maybe the channel actually runs on this side rather than that other side like I was thinking it did. Yeah, there's a really hard edge right there. You can see that hard edge. It starts right here. So I'm gonna mark this with a rock icon. That way I can kind of mark that hard edge. And that's probably gonna be a good little spot too to come back through. There's a lot of timber through here. I might need to just throw a worm through this just because there's so much timber. Maybe throw the glide bait on the isolated pieces of timber and then throw the worm through these bigger trees. You can see them all behind me here. They're all through this area, and just trying to get a sense for what's happening, getting dialed in here a little bit better. Again, without the mapping, it makes it a little bit tricky. I also want to get kind of on this flat over here just to see. And now we have this whole area marked in through here, and we can start fishing it. So we have that corner over there that we know is pretty good, and then we have this little stretch here which looks, again, pretty decent. I definitely like this stretch in here too though, because there's a lot more like isolated out of the way stuff. So there's a bunch of fish right there. What are those? That's just a mess of crappie right there, but there might be some bass setting up around those crappie. That's a big mess of crappie. If someone wants to come put their limited crappie in the boat, that's the spot right there. But there's gotta be some bass setting up around this too, if there's that much crappie there. So, man, we got so much to check out right here. We're getting back to this kind of timber edge. So we have that flat with some of the crappie. We have the creek channel there. A lot to work with. Now we're just gonna go through each one of these process of elimination and run through and figure out which of these waypoints that we marked has the quality largemouth. Then we can just try to duplicate that around, whether it's right on the edge of a channel or whatever it is. We know that that last fish we caught was close to the sharper drop off. There's some really nice trees right here. Close to a sharper drop off, and then the trees were kind of up on top of the flats. So that might be what we need to be doing. But let's just kind of work our way through all this stuff and see if we can get bit. Ooh, okay, there's definitely a quality fish setting up in this tree right over here. You can see it about 70 feet out. Don't know if I'm gonna be able to get my bait through there effectively. Oh, is that him? No. Oh, he was all over the bait. I hit the tree. He was looking at it. Oh my gosh, I screwed that up. There's some quality fish in that tree right there though. It was too thick for my bait. I might need to throw something other than this glide, but look at that fish, 50 foot in the middle of that tree. That's a big one right there. I'm gonna go get my glide bait back because I'm not breaking this thing off, but oh, you can see that fish shining right there, 35 feet. And there was another one in there that was swimming around it. Oh, when they get this trees get this thick, I might need to go to another bait that can work through there a little bit better. Come on, fish, come get it. Come on, come on, come on. Get it, fish. Oh, he hit it. Come on, no way, he hit it. Come back and get it, come on. Man, there's a bunch of fish right in this little area here. It's right where we marked all of those crappie or whatever they were on side scan, and there's some quality largemouth swimming around. You can see them swimming in the trees. One literally just tapped my bait and didn't get it somehow. Let's see if another one comes and tries to get it. This area, there's a bunch of them down here. So as I'm making my way through these trees, I'm seeing a lot of shad, and there's quite a few fish, but most of them are definitely not bass, which is what you should probably expect on these shallower, dirty lakes. We're also not on, again, the best lake in the state of Arkansas by any means. Probably not that many like fish over maybe 5 pounds in this lake. But despite that, there are enough good ones, I feel like, to throw this glide bait. And this glide bait's really helping me identify which fish are bass and which ones are not around these trees. Because really, the bass are gonna be the only ones that react to this. If I am throwing it around a lot of little... So as I get into some of these thicker trees, this new color palette's definitely going to be very helpful, because it's helping me basically filter out a lot of those trees and just see the fish. And there's a lot of fish in these trees. There's a lot of bait in these trees too. But the trees themselves are kind of showing up more as kind of a pale blue, ghosty outline. The one thing I've noticed though is that a lot of the fish that are out in these trees a little bit deeper towards the channel are not nearly as big. A lot of the dots are just these small little returns, which to me would be crappie or just smaller bass. The only bigger returns I've really seen have been up on the flats more so than actually out here by the channel. And that's pretty interesting, and it kind of lines up with the first spot that we caught that good one, and we just had that one that hit it, that missed it. Both of them were kind of up on the flat more, so we may need to be kind of changing gears here. Instead of focusing way out here deep, we might need to get back up on those flats. I do want to keep them honest out here, just kind of see there's a lot of bait and there's a lot of fish. Everything I'm seeing here just looks really small. Everything on Active Target does look a little bit bigger in general too, just because of the returns and stuff. So you need to see a pretty big return or a pretty big dot to know that it's a quality bass, which I actually really do like, especially when you have all this timber and stuff. If you can see a really big dot in those trees, you know you're dealing with a quality fish. And other than that, you're dealing with a lot of smaller fish. That's why I like a lot of the big game, big fish hunters like Josh Jones actually run Active Target 2 rather than the other brands of forward-facing sonar. And I've talked to him about this. It's because you can really pick out those bigger fish. And this new Color Palette 9 was kind of tested in Oklahoma on some of those really big fish lakes around timber and stuff like that to hopefully help differentiate these fish from the timber. There's a couple of decent ones that are swimming right here though. Looks like about 30 feet out. They look pretty decent, at least they're swimming pretty quick. Those look like these could be just a random wolf pack of bass. They kind of already disappeared on me. They're swimming really quick. But that could mean there's maybe some fish out here. We're kind of getting close to this little road bed thing. Maybe there's some bass out here. Okay, so I'm starting to put the pieces together a little bit here, guys. We just had another fish nose right up against the glide, not quite get it. And I feel like I know what these fish are setting up on now, and I should be able to replicate around this lake. I just need to figure out the right bait to get them to bite. I'm gonna try to throw this wacky worm around. I've been throwing a bunch of different stuff, different minnows and worms and different things, and have not been able to get these fish to really commit or get interested in anything other than that glide. But basically what these fish are doing, from what I can tell, is they're setting up close to the channels. The channel's right behind me here. You can see 30 feet out, that's the center of that channel. It's actually kind of getting shallow up here. But these fish are setting up not necessarily in the channel, they're more up on top of the flats, but right next to the channel. So there's a fish right where my bait just landed, right at 50 foot in this tree, swimming around. That's 100% a bass. And my bait's falling down to him right now. Let's see if I can actually get it, keep it in front of him. These fish here swimming quicker are your bass. And they will get interested in the glide, and I feel like if I just kept throwing the glide the rest of the day, I could get 5 bites on it. I feel pretty confident in that. But right now, I don't have that much time left in the day. I want to see if I can catch even a few more than just that. But you can see these fish. There's another good one right here in this tree, 30 feet out. He's swimming down to the bottom. Whenever I get around these trees that are in 10 foot of water next to the channel, that's where these bigger fish are, the better quality fish. There's fish following my bait down right now, actually, to the bottom, which is a good sign. See if one of them picks it up. Just throwing this little weedless wacky shot from core down here. Let's see if one of them, man, there's a couple of really good ones down there, 25 feet down, right on my bait. I want to see if they actually pick it up. but right now it seems like the glide is my best chance of actually even getting these fish to just commit or to bite. It's just, that's a tricky deal too. It's hard to get them to always commit. And I've missed 2 now off of it, so I don't want to just only throw that. I might need to just keep experimenting with baits now that I kind of know where these fish are. But we're definitely around them now. Come on, fish. Come on. Come on. Got him. There we go. Another good one on the glide. Finally got around this deal again. Found one sitting higher in the water column. And he cracked it again. Another good one on the glide. Okay, we need to just keep this glide in our hand, guys, because this is the bait. 4 bites now on this thing in about 2 hours. And that is another really, really good one out here. 2 pounds, 14 ounces, solid 3-pounder right there. Beautiful fish. Let's get that guy back down the lake. He has a ton of energy too. He got all over that glide. That was so cool. That little clutch eco has been coming in clutch for me, and I love that bite. I think that this is a deal, guys, that I can actually get 5 bites on, like I was talking about earlier. I was throwing a bunch of different other baits. They just wouldn't really react or commit, but when I get this thing around them, they go after it. And again, we only have like 6 inches of visibility and they're still choking this thing. There we go, guys, getting dialed in with this glide bait bite. That's so fun. And this is that clutch eco I've been throwing a lot recently, and it's great on quote unquote normal lakes that have a lot of like 2.5 to 3 pound bass. It's not overly big, so it can imitate like a bluegill, a crappie, even some of the bigger shad you might have in your lake. But on this lake here, it's not like there's 10-pounders swimming around everywhere. And a lot of the places you see guys throwing a glide bait, it's down in Texas on those really big fish fisheries. But this bait is really not that much bigger than like a Strike King 6XD or anything like that. So it's a pretty good sized bait. I do upgrade the stock treble hooks to a size 1 round bed on the front and then a size 2 EWG hook. This is the Gamakatsu EWG, just to weight it down a little bit so it sinks just a little bit. Just throwing this on 20-pound fluorocarbon with a 7'11" or 7'10" extra heavy Denali Magnum crankbait rod. It's a moderate fast rod that has some tip, which is good for those treble hook baits. And we're getting dialed in now a little bit on this pattern. We're kind of, again, on a little spot where there's a channel, and you can see this channel drops off right here. I just spot locked right where we caught this fish. And we probably blew back a little bit, but these fish are setting up right on the edge of these deeper depressions. They're not actually in the depression that you can see they're at like 40 foot. That's like the bottom of that ditch. They're more up on the flat still, which is a really interesting deal. And there's quite a few fish in these specific zones once you kind of get around them. And it's not like I'm catching a ton of fish doing this, guys. I mean, I'm getting a bite here, a bite there, and I've had 4 bites now, but it's taken quite a bit to get those 4 bites. But I feel like now that I'm kind of getting in the area, it's going to be even better, because I wasn't, I guess, really around the right areas, I think, the whole time. It took me a while to kind of get dialed in on what these fish are using, but we're starting to see more fish in these areas now, and hopefully this glide is going to be the deal to get these fish in the boat. I haven't really, again, had much success on anything else other than this glide, so we're kind of going to be committing to this, I think, the rest of the day, because I have a bunch of rods on the deck and none of them have worked. There's even some fish swimming further up here. It's kind of interesting. They're like way up here on this flat. I don't know what that's about and why there's so many fish way up here shallow. Again, could be a brim deal, could be a bunch of different things, but we're just going to kind of hunt and peck around again and see if we can get another one to come up on this glide. Okay, we have a pretty good fish here, about 60 feet. So let me walk you through this retrieve. There's actually a couple of them over here. What I'm going to do is basically fire this bait out there, let it hit the water, and then try to find it on active target. A lot of times it takes a second to kind of figure out exactly where the bait is, because there's a lot of stuff happening on the screen. But once you kind of find it, it's at 60 feet right now. The way I work it, and you can see I'm working it past these fish, is I want to work it pretty quick. Don't know if that fish actually tried to follow it here, but it's at 40 feet now. And I'm going to basically try to work that bait 2 different ways. One with the handle of my reel, and the other by twitching my rod. Working the reel handle is definitely probably the more consistent way to work this bait. There's a fish on my bait right now. Come on, get it, fish. Come on. And I'll twitch it. When I get one behind it, I'll work it kind of quick and try to work it fast. Get him to come up and just try to hit it. There's one on my bait right now. Come on, fish. Come on, just get it. Get it. Oh, he hit it. No, he was right here. You saw that whole thing. And I'm trying to work it quick and get it right in front of his face. Is he gonna come back for it? He's right there. Come on, fish. He's right on it still. You want to basically just try to twitch it and work it and keep it away from them. And if they're really all about it, they're going to come up and just grab it. They're not going to follow it and mess with it like that one did. But that was a good fish right there. You kind of saw that whole retrieve. That was a good kind of showcase of it. That fish is literally right under the boat. I can't see him because it's so dirty here. There's fish on this flat though. They're up here on this flat. That was a good one. And you're going to get a lot of fish to follow it like that. Man, there's a lot of fish around this area though, and again, there's just fish kind of cruising around out here. So you gotta find your bait, and you can work the bait a lot faster and keep it away from them more in clear water because these fish will see it better. In this dirtier water, I find you have to work it a little bit slower and kind of hang it in front of their face just a little bit more because they won't necessarily be able to track it as easily as they will in that clear water. So, oh, there's a fish on it right now. Come on, another one, like next cast, come on. There's a lot more fish in this area. They potentially are gonna eat it. I don't know if these are just small guys or what's going on now. 2 fish in a row that followed it there though. And they're all not gonna commit. You're not gonna get 100% of fish, or maybe even like 30% of the fish to commit on this bait. So the more fish you can get around the areas that have more fish around them, that is gonna be your key. And you're really, I mean, when I'm doing this, I'm fishing for 5 bites. This is a 5 bite a day deal. This is not a 30 fish a day. There have been days where I've caught, 7, 8, 9 fish in a day doing this, but that's definitely not normal. That's abnormal for sure. But it can be done if you're on the right lake and you have the perfect day. But most of the time it's just a few fish. Here's one right here. Definitely more fish in this area though than anywhere else I've seen today. So I didn't get any more bites off this area, but I wanted to graph it really quick and show you what's going on here. I have both my waypoints where I actually got bit, and you can see that there's a really nice channel that runs through here and tops out in about 10 foot of water, right where those waypoints are. The fish actually came right on that break, right where that drop is, and it's pretty cool to see here on that side scan view that really nice channel, and these fish are just setting up basically on the edge right here on that flat next to this channel. They're not in the channel, they're on that edge. And that's what we need to be looking for again if we're going to try to replicate this pattern. The first couple places we got bit, that's exactly what was happening too. I want to show you further down this drop where we got another bite. And I don't know how many more spots on this lake there are like this. It doesn't necessarily feel like there needs to be timber necessarily. It just needs to have some type of cover by it. So the area where we started, where there were some brush piles right next to that drop, that was perfect. So we don't necessarily, again, need the timber, and a lot of the fish aren't really related to the timber. It seems like they're kind of just around the timber. There's some timber right there, speaking of the devil. But let's get through here, I'll show you. So as we get into this next waypoint where we got bit, again, you can see that channel on the left side of the side scan here, and that fish, it bit right basically on the edge of this channel, right where it starts to drop off. So this is kind of like almost a subtle ledge, quote unquote. You can see right in there, that's where that fish bit, but it's 10 foot of water here, and then it drops off a little bit deeper. So we need to find 10 foot of water next to a drop off, even if it's just a little ditch or whatever. And I'm gonna graph around the rest of this lake because again, there's that little drop. And if we can find that, I mean, there's another little deal on this side. Maybe we need to be fishing the other side of this thing too. We can see some fish setting up even on 2D a little bit, just kind of chilling around through here. There might be even more over here, but let's keep rolling. I see some timber and stuff over here. I really don't know how this lake sets up, so we need to graph around, and maybe there's another drop out here in the middle I don't know about. And if there is, maybe we'll find another little stretch. And unfortunately, it's time to head back to the house. I only got those 2 good fish in the boat, got several more to hit the glide bait, but I do want to show you all the other baits I was trying today just to give you an idea of what I did try in those areas. Again, I think we identified the key areas that were holding better quality fish. I just couldn't find another bait that worked. I was really putting some high hopes in that Ozark rig with the B2 worm, 10.5 inch plum apple worm. That's usually pretty good this time of year. That did not get the job done. I had several finesse approaches I was trying. The weedless wacky shot with a Senko, trying to work at finesse in front of their face. Maybe the water was a little bit too dirty for that. I was throwing, it's the glide bait, I was throwing this right here. This is a bigger minnow. I've heard when guys are catching them on the glide, they can also catch them really well on this bigger Sakamata shad, and this is a 6-inch version, but that did not get any interest at all. I also went a little bit smaller on the minnow, throwing a hover rig with that Bass Tricks Flash Tricks. Has a little bit beefier profile in this dirty water. Did not get any bites on that. And then I also threw a few other baits at him just to kind of keep him honest. Whoa, getting all tangled up here. Give me a second. There we go. I have no idea how I got that tangled up. I just have my line over the side of the boat. But anyways, also throwing a Strike King 6XD to try to fish a little bit deeper in that 15-foot zone and dredge the bottom to see if there's some fish pushed on the bottom on the edge of those drops. I was also throwing a smaller crankbait. This is a bait I've had a lot of success on in August. It's a Megabass Super Z2, and it basically dives around like the 5 to 6 foot zone, trying to fish for some suspended fish in those trees, cranking the trees. A lot of times that works really well. Not today. Finally, was throwing the flutter spoon, actually working it through those trees, trying to pull those fish with the flutter spoon. Sometimes that works really well. Again, not today. So we tried all that stuff, and the only thing that got our bites and got those fish kind of excited was that glide bait. Now again, we're not on the best lake in Arkansas today. This is what I would consider a very normal lake, and despite that, we actually got the glide bait to work. And the concept for this video was, can you make the glide bait work? And honestly, the glide bait was the only thing that was working. So I think that's actually a pretty cool discovery, because maybe I would have come out here with my standard baits and not caught anything. So it may have just been a happy coincidence, but that Clutch Eco was a pretty good bait today, getting a few fish in the boat. Again, that last little group right there were several of them that slapped at it. I don't know how they didn't commit to it. Maybe it's just better like early in the day or whatever. And I'm sure there's a way to catch some fish out here. I think if I just really slowed down, just drug a worm around super slow, maybe I would have got some fish. I really don't know. I mean, I tried that for a bit. I didn't do it for that long, but just kind of a weird day. August fishing is really tough. Dog days of summer, you're not always going to come out here and smash them. But I did want to show you that really cool technique. It was a lot of fun, and even though we didn't get that many bites, I had a blast, and it's better than catching them on a spinning rod, to be honest. And if that's what I had to resort to, I'd rather catch 2 good fish on the glide bait than a bunch of dinks on the spinning rod. So other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I will link the glide bait rod and the bait down in the description. I'll also leave a discount code for denalifishing.com where you can get 30% off all products at denalifishing.com, including their tungsten weights. They have a lot of other products as well, so go check that out. It's a great discount code to use down in the description. Other than that, thanks for checking out this video. We'll see you on the next one.